He kicked me out with our 2-day-old baby. He looked me dead in the eyes, holding our newborn daughter, and said, "You have 2 hours to leave. I need my space. Stick with me while I share my story. And if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about." 2 days. That's how long it took for the man I thought I'd marry to show his true colors. I had just come home from the hospital, still healing, hormones raging, barely sleeping, and trying to figure out how to breastfeed our tiny daughter, Ellie. Travis barely looked at me. I thought maybe he was tired. I thought maybe he was just overwhelmed. But then, he came into the bedroom, didn't even sit, just stood there with his arms crossed and said, "This isn't working. You trapped me. I can't do this. You and the baby need to leave." At first I laughed. It didn't feel real. I thought it was a sick joke, but he was serious. He handed me a half-packed diaper bag and said I had 2 hours before he called someone to escort me out. I had no job. I'd quit at his insistence to focus on the pregnancy. No car. It was in his name, and no place to go. My whole life was with him. I was shaking, trying to hold my crying newborn and grab essentials at the same time. I left the hospital with stitches and hope. I left his apartment with a baby and a broken heart. Thank God for my sister Jenna. She drove across town at midnight, furious, barely saying a word. When I climbed into her car, holding Ellie in one arm and my torn dignity in the other, she looked at me through tears and said, "You're not going back there." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on Jenna's couch, breastfeeding my daughter with one hand and Googling tenant laws with the other. I didn't know how, and I didn't know when. But I promised myself one thing. Travis was going to regret everything. The first few days at Jenna's place felt like a fog. I was still sore, still waking up every hour with baby Ellie, and still trying to believe that everything that happened was real. Travis had kicked me out like I was nothing, but the shock was wearing off, and in its place, anger. One afternoon, while Jenna was rocking Ellie to sleep, I decided to call the landlord of the apartment Travis and I had shared. I wanted answers. I wanted to know if I had any rights, if I could fight my way back in, but the call left me frozen. The landlord said, "You were removed from the lease back in February." February. I felt my stomach drop. That was months before Ellie was born. I remembered Travis sitting me down one evening, smiling that fake soft smile he used when he wanted to get his way. He told me, "You're working too hard. You need to rest. Quit your job. Focus on the baby. I'll handle everything." I thought he was being sweet, supportive. I didn't realize he was setting me up. I was never on the lease to begin with. When we first moved in, I had asked about it. He said, "Don't worry. I'll take care of all the paperwork. Less stress for you." And stupidly, I let him. Now I was just a guest with no legal ground, no rights, and no home. He had been planning this. When I told Jenna what I'd found out, she nearly dropped the baby bottle she was holding. "He did this on purpose," she said. "This wasn't some last-minute breakup. He wanted you out, and he made sure you'd have nothing when it happened." I nodded, silent, the truth sinking in deeper than I was ready for. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was a setup. He made sure I was dependent. No job, no lease, no transportation. Just me and Ellie, completely at his mercy. Jenna looked at me and said, "You need a lawyer. We can go tomorrow. This is bigger than just a breakup." But I didn't respond right away, because deep inside me, something was changing. I didn't just want legal justice. I didn't want to fight him in court and win on paper. I wanted him to feel what he made me feel, helpless, cornered, and completely out of control. He kicked me out without blinking. Now, it was my turn to make him regret ever thinking I'd stay quiet. A week after settling into Jenna's place, I realized I needed more of Ellie's things. Diapers, baby clothes, bottles, all still in the storage unit Travis and I had rented months before. Jenna offered to come with me. I didn't want to go alone. The place held too many memories. The storage unit was quiet and cold. As I sifted through baby boxes, I noticed a small envelope stuck inside a crate labeled "Documents." I almost tossed it aside, but something made me open it. It was a receipt. No, two. One was for a luxury condo application in downtown, dated just 3 weeks ago. The other was a gift receipt from a high-end jewelry store. The name on the gift order, "To Sierra, with love." My chest tightened. I handed the papers to Jenna, who looked at them and muttered, "That scumbag." Sierra? I didn't know a Sierra. But Jenna, ever the social media detective, started digging. Within minutes, she pulled up Sierra's profile. Beautiful, blonde, realtor, And there he was, Travis, smiling next to her in a photo from a month ago, his hand on her waist. I stared at that photo for a long time. I was 7 months pregnant then. He told me he was working late nights, saving up for the baby. Turns out, he was house hunting with her. I felt sick. The betrayal hit harder than the eviction. He wasn't just done with me, he had replaced me. Rewritten our story, like I never existed, like Ellie never existed. But after the tears dried, something in me shifted. I stopped feeling hurt. I started feeling focused. I began saving everything, screenshots, receipts, timelines. Jenna helped me set up a folder on my laptop. If Travis wanted to play dirty, I'd make sure he never saw clean again. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was about truth, about making sure he couldn't do this to anyone else. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd cry and disappear. But I had something stronger than revenge now, proof, and I was going to use every single piece of it. Jenna was the one who planted the idea. One night, while we were feeding Ellie and scrolling through photos of Sierra and Travis playing house online, she looked up and said, "What if this isn't the first time he's done this?" I hadn't considered that. I'd been so wrapped in my own heartbreak, I never thought Travis could have left behind a trail of women just like me. I called my old college roommate, Alyssa. She and Travis went to the same school, though they weren't close. When I explained the situation, she hesitated, then said, "You know, there was a girl named Lauren. They were together senior year. It ended weird. She kind of disappeared after graduation. That was all I needed. It took a few days, but I found Lauren on Facebook. Her last name had changed, and she lived 2 states over, but I recognized her face immediately. Soft eyes, a quiet kind of strength. I messaged her, told her I was Travis's ex, asked if she'd ever want to talk. She replied an hour later. We met over video chat the next evening. I expected awkward small talk. What I got was an emotional mirror. Lauren sat quietly as I told her my story. By the time I finished, she was nodding slowly, eyes brimming with tears. "He did the exact same thing to me," she said. "I gave birth to our son, and within 3 days, he told me he didn't love me anymore, said he needed to focus on his freedom. I thought I did something wrong." She shared how Travis had pressured her to quit her job during pregnancy, promised to take care of everything, and then ghosted her after the baby came. No support, no explanation, just an empty apartment and a crying newborn. I felt a lump rise in my throat. We weren't mistakes. We were a pattern. That's when it all became clear. This wasn't just about getting justice for myself. It was about stopping him from doing this to the next woman, from walking away again like nothing ever happened. Lauren agreed to help. She still had emails, texts, screenshots she'd saved out of confusion and pain. She sent them all to me. I added them to the growing folder on my laptop. I wasn't alone anymore, and neither was she. Travis had a habit, but this time he picked the wrong woman to leave behind. Lauren didn't waste time. As soon as she agreed to help, she got to work. Turns out, she worked for a mid-sized property management company in her city. With her system access, she could search national tenant databases. "Let's see how Golden Boy really rents," she said. What she found made my stomach twist, and weirdly, it also made me smile. Travis wasn't just a bad partner, he was a nightmare tenant. Lauren pulled up reports from multiple buildings he'd lived in over the past 10 years. There were complaints for noise, unpaid utilities, damage to the units, and even one eviction that had been settled privately after he begged the landlord for more time. He had blamed every issue on roommates or crazy exes, but it was a pattern. And now, I had the receipts. That's when I got bold. Using a fake Gmail account and a burner number Jenna helped me set up, I posed as a landlord, doing reference checks for a Travis M. I called 4 of his former landlords. Each call confirmed everything Lauren had found. One said, he skipped out on his last month's rent, never returned the keys. Another told me he lied about having no pets, left a cat locked in the bathroom for a weekend. The third just laughed and said, "You'll regret renting to that man." They didn't know they were speaking to the woman he kicked out with a newborn. I kept it professional, just writing everything down, one story after the next. It hit me then. Travis had spent years creating a mess behind closed doors, walking away from it each time without consequences. But not this time. I organized all the landlord complaints, rental violations, and copies of the records Lauren had pulled into a clean digital folder. I named it Project Karma. The more I added, the stronger I felt. For the first time since he told me to leave, I wasn't crying. I wasn't scared. I was focused. He thought he'd thrown me away, but I was building the case that would follow him wherever he tried to run next. My cousin Daniel wasn't a lawyer yet, but he was the next best thing. He worked as a law clerk at a downtown firm, and when I showed him everything I'd gathered, his face hardened. "You've got enough here to make some serious waves," he said. I didn't want just waves, I wanted a storm. With Daniel's help, we drafted a formal complaint addressed to Travis's current landlord. It was clean, sharp, and full of facts. We detailed how Travis had unregistered tenants, sublet the unit illegally to a friend for a few months while we were on a break, and even forged parts of his income documents to qualify for the lease in the first place. Daniel made sure the language sounded legal enough to raise alarm bells, but not so aggressive that it could be dismissed as emotional. We sent it anonymously, then we waited. Meanwhile, I started tightening my own side of things. I filed for child support, not because I needed his money, but because I wanted a legal paper trail. If he wanted to act like he didn't have a daughter, the court system would remind him otherwise. I also started recording everything. Every time Travis texted or called, I saved it. Every time he made a snide comment or tried to twist the truth, I had it documented. I got a small nanny cam from Jenna's friend and kept it running during drop-offs. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was protecting Ellie. She had become my fuel, her little coos, her chubby hands gripping my shirt, the way she looked at me like I was her entire world. It reminded me that I wasn't weak. I was a mother, and no one was going to walk over us again. About a week after we sent the complaint, Daniel forwarded me an email thread between the landlord's legal representative and the property manager. The words "possible lease breach" and "tenant verification audit" were bolded. I grinned. Travis didn't know it yet, but the walls were starting to close in. That letter had lit the fuse, and with every small step, I was getting closer to watching it all blow up in his face. He thought kicking me out meant I'd disappear, but I was just getting started. It didn't take much to find the condo board's contact info. Travis had left one of their brochures in the storage bin, bragging about our future before Ellie was born. I stared at it for a long time, remembering how he talked about those marble countertops like they were more important than the baby growing inside me. So I wrote an email. I kept it anonymous and professional, attaching screenshots of his past evictions, complaints from other landlords I had collected, and even the falsified pay stubs I'd found in an old email drawer. I explained how he had a pattern of manipulating housing situations, ducking responsibility, and damaging properties. The response came within 3 days. "Thank you for your submission. We will be investigating this matter further." By the end of the week, Travis's condo application was dead. I knew it was official when I saw him post a bitter message on social media about needing to find new housing ASAP, and how haters always try to bring a man down. That was just the beginning. Sierra disappeared next. She had been his shiny new life. Young, successful, well-dressed. She sold the kind of homes she thought he belonged in. I figured she hadn't known about me or Ellie, so I made sure she found out. I sent her a message from a fake account with screenshots of texts he sent me while they were together. I included a picture of Travis holding our daughter in the hospital and a timestamp. No dramatic words, just the truth. She read it, never replied, but 2 days later, her name vanished from his posts, his tags, his stories, and just like that, she was gone. Now Travis was out thousands in deposits, dumped and desperate. He started crashing at a friend's place, then bouncing between couches, trying to figure out why every rental application kept hitting a wall. What he didn't know was that local landlords were talking. Lauren had sent warnings through her network, and my anonymous references filled in the rest. He hadn't just lost a condo, he lost the image he worked so hard to fake. And for once, it wasn't me picking up the pieces, it was him. And there was still more to come. It started with a text from an unknown number. "You're not funny. You think this is a game." I knew who it was. Travis had finally started to feel the heat. Over the next few weeks, the updates trickled in from Lauren and a couple of kind landlords I'd spoken with. Travis was being denied left and right. Word had gotten around. Some landlords had even flagged his name in internal databases. Between the subletting issues, unpaid damages, and falsified documents, his rental history was a giant red flag. He wasn't just unlucky, he was blacklisted. One property manager even told him to his face, "You've been flagged. You might want to stop wasting your time." That's when he snapped. I was nursing Ellie when the phone rang. No caller ID. I let it go to voicemail. Then again, and again. Finally, I picked up on the 4th ring, just to end it. His voice was sharp, angry. "You think you're smart, huh? Going behind my back, ruining every lease I apply for? I stayed quiet at first. Let the silence make him squirm. Then I spoke, calm and even. Travis, you kicked out a woman with a 2-day-old baby. You lied, cheated, and manipulated everyone around you. If your past is finally catching up to you, maybe that's not my fault. Maybe that's just karma making rent. He went silent for a beat. You're insane, he muttered, but it lacked heat. He knew I was right. I'm just being honest, I said. You kicked out your family. You kicked out your future. You made your choices, Travis. He hung up, and for the first time since that day he threw us out, I felt something shift. I wasn't scared of him anymore. He could rant, threaten, throw tantrums. None of it mattered now. I had all the proof, all the witnesses, all the truth, and the truth was suffocating him in every rental rejection letter he received. I heard later from Jenna that he was staying with a co-worker and living out of duffel bags. Word in his social circle was that he had bad luck with women and housing. He played the victim, but people weren't buying it like they used to. Every day, I was rebuilding my life. One bottle, one diaper, one job application at a time. And every day, he was unraveling a little more. He finally knew it was me. But by then, it didn't matter, because I had already won. The courtroom was cold, the kind of cold that makes your bones feel small. I sat there holding a folder of everything I had. Text messages, eviction records, photos of the apartment the day he kicked us out, and statements from Jenna and Lauren. I didn't need to exaggerate anything. The truth was loud enough. Travis strolled in late, wearing a wrinkled suit like he'd just pulled it from someone else's closet. He barely looked at me, but when he took the stand, he painted a picture of me that was so far from reality, it almost made me laugh. Almost. He called me emotional, unpredictable, and said he worried for Ellie's safety. He told the judge I left voluntarily, that I couldn't handle being a mother. I let him talk. Then it was my turn. I spoke slowly, clearly. I showed the records. The text where he told me to leave 2 days after giving birth. The lease that proved my name was removed without my knowledge. The official child support claim he tried to dodge. Jenna's statement about finding me crying on her couch while breastfeeding. Lauren's sworn letter describing the exact same pattern he used on her. The judge looked at Travis like she could see right through him. Her ruling was simple. I was granted full custody of Ellie. Travis would get supervised visitation twice a month, and he was ordered to pay back child support immediately. He didn't speak. He just sat there blinking, as if he'd never thought this could happen. Outside the courthouse, I was buckling Ellie into her car seat when I heard his voice behind me. Rebecca, wait. I turned. He looked small, defeated. I made a mistake. Please, I want to be part of her life. We were supposed to be a family. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, you had a family. You chose to throw us away. And then I got in the car. As I drove off, Ellie let out a soft little sigh from the back seat, and I felt a peace I hadn't felt in months. The court saw through him. The lies were done. And I was done with him too. 1 year can change everything. 12 months ago, I was standing on a street corner holding my 2-day-old baby, blindsided, heartbroken, and homeless. Now, I'm sipping coffee in my own little rental while Ellie plays on the floor with her favorite stuffed giraffe. The apartment isn't fancy, but it's safe. It's warm. It's ours. After the court case, I took the remote marketing job Jenna helped me find. It started as part-time, but I worked hard, during nap times, late nights, early mornings, and it paid off. Now, I have clients of my own, steady income, and something more valuable than anything Travis ever offered, freedom. I didn't rush into anything. I spent the year rebuilding, not just my life, but myself. I went to therapy. I joined a mum group. I even made a vision board like some cheesy TikTok suggested. And guess what? Half the stuff on it came true. Travis, on the other hand, he spiraled. After the condo lease was pulled and Sierra ghosted him, he jumped between friends' couches and short-term rentals that barely lasted a month. Word traveled. Landlords talked. Property managers flagged him. Even if he managed to sweet-talk one, they'd call for references. And thanks to the detailed dossier I shared with the right people, his past always caught up to him. Then, last week, I got an email. A property manager in another state wrote, "Hi Rebecca, we're considering Mr. Travis Cole for tenancy. Would you be able to provide a personal reference?" I stared at the screen for a moment. I could have ignored it, or sent a long, dramatic email explaining the emotional and financial mess he left behind. But I didn't need all that. I typed one line. I wouldn't rent him a tent in the desert. Then I hit send and shut my laptop. From the living room, Ellie giggled, trying to balance her giraffe on her sippy cup. I laughed. and walked over to her, lifting her into my arms. Her tiny hands clutched my face like I was the whole world. Maybe to her, I was. The storm that started with a slammed door and a 2-hour eviction was finally over. I didn't just survive, I rebuilt. And the best part, I did it without him. Do you think Travis got what he deserved, or do you think Rebecca went too far? I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if stories like this speak to you, don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss what comes next.